तदन्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ वर्स 25 आत्मनः सच्चिदंशश्च बुद्धेर्वृत्तिरिति द्वयम् संयोज्य च विवेकेन जानामीति प्रवर्तते। So we were seeing this verse. Basically, we were seeing Atma is free from any transaction. Atma is avyavaharyam, free from any transaction. That's what we are seeing. And for that matter, what is transaction? What is processing of knowledge? Well, in that we saw that there are three factors involved in that, and one is a knower, one other thing is an object of knowledge, and knower and object of knowledge, subject and object, knower and known, both are connected through the process of the thought, that is, which we call it as a jnanam, knowledge. So this is in that, Atma has no role to play. Even without Atma, of course, nothing can happen. Because basically Atma is a Jnana Sarupa, and therefore Jnata has to be, we have seen that in Kenopanishad, Atma, basically because of Atma, which is Jnana Sarupa, there is a Jnata, there is a Jnaya, and there is a Jnana everywhere, of course. But directly it doesn't take part in any transaction of knowing. Instead, the Chidabhasa takes a part. That also we have seen. And so we saw that Atmanah Satchidamshascha, that Atma is basically with this existence and consciousness and Buddhi, Sanyojya. So there are, this is the first combination. Atma, the self, I, the consciousness, and Buddhi, the mind, which is a reflecting medium. Combining these two, there is a reflection formed, and when they are in proximity, and they are in proximity, of course, and definitely then an Atma is all pervading, of course, and then a reflection is formed, and that reflection is Chidabhasa, that is called Jnata, the knower. And then second combination also we saw that Atmanaha Satchidamshasya Buddhehe Vrittihi iti dvayam. So I, the consciousness, existence consciousness, and Buddhi Vritti, the thought. The thought pertaining to the object. The mind itself modifies into a object, a form of an object. That's called a thought. So combining these two, then again, because of the proximity of the thought of the mind and the consciousness, again a reflection is formed, a mini reflection, let's say. Because thought is it's a miniature, it's a small part of a mind. Anyway, so that is, combining these two, Sanyojya means combining these two, because of their proximity, Chidabhasa is formed there, and thought plus Chidabhasa, turns to a knowledge. And so object gets illumined also. And we call it as object of knowledge. So in the process of knowing, there are three things. One is the Jnata, other is a Jnanam, and third is Gneyam. So three things are there. And definitely, so I don't have any connection with anything in the transaction. And so, of course, because of the ignorance, I consider myself as a reflected consciousness. I consider myself as a knower, etc. And then, avivekena janami iti pravartate avivekena. Because of this indiscrimination, only Chidabhasa has a jnana vyavahara, but still I say, I know, and therefore I am a knower, and anything else is a known, etc. Well, we say like that. Whatever in the mind, of course, that also you say, it is known to me, and I am a knower. But that knower status also, well, that is not my real status. And so, like a reflected face is a false face, same way here, this reflection, well, which we call as a knower, that's also a fake. And therefore I am totally distinct from this knower, known and knowledge. That's what we Upanishad we discuss also this thing also, that subject and object, well, basically cannot be the one as such, and subject and object appear as one, because they cannot be one. What is subject, what is object, and subject cannot be object cannot be the subject. Knower and known must be different. Yeah, but then, I take myself as when we say Atma is a knower and Atma is known, we have said that. I want to clarify that thing. Atma, alone appears in the form of a knower, Atma alone appears in the form of a known, and Atma alone appears in the form of knowledge also. Jnata, Jnanam and Gneyam. When we say that, well, all the three are superimposed. All the three are Chidabhasa ultimately. That's what we are now connecting. So all this is Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa means a superimposition. And ultimately that I consider myself as a Chidabhasa, and then definitely it's Aviveka. So Janami, I know, means I consider myself as a knower, that is not the real status. I am totally free from the transaction. Without me, no transaction can take place, because I am consciousness and I am existence. So the existence of the knower, existence of the thought, and existence of the object of knowledge, everything is because of me, and the very consciousness in which all the three are, all the three have their being in me, and all the three are conscious because of me. Basically, I am distinct from all the three. And that is how limitless consciousness has nothing to do with the transaction. So that's what we saw in the morning. Now let's go to verse 26. Atmano vikriya nasti buddhir bodho na jatviti jivas sarvamalam jnatva jnata drashteti muhyati. So a question has arisen now that why we should think of a third entity. There are two things actually. Atma, Anatma, that is one, that's enough. So Atma consciousness is there, body, mind, sense complex is there, that is Anatma, that is enough. Now you are basically assuming a third entity called Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. Why should you assume? That is called Gaurava Dosha. Gaurava Dosha means if you see why it is considered dosha, means if you can assume least things, then there will be less problems. If you assume more and more things, and to accommodate all these things in an understanding, well, definitely it creates a problem. And therefore, Atma, Anatma, two things are there, that is enough. And Atma consciousness is there, and body, mind, sense complex, definitely are there, Anatma is there. Combining these two, all these things, all transaction, etc. takes place, that is sufficient. Don't assume all this reflected consciousness. And what is this all? Chidabhasa. So Shankaracharya ji says, I am forced to introduce this third entity. There is no way out. I am forced to introduce. Because knowing process cannot belong to either of these two. That's how I have to introduce a third entity. Knowing process cannot be associated with Atma. Knowing process cannot be associated with the mind. And therefore we have to assume a third entity called Chidabhasa. Well, because of which the transaction takes place. So that is what he is saying here. So it's an intermediate category. It is which is distinct from the Chaitanyam consciousness and also distinct from the mind, right? This is a third entity, Chidabhasa. So knowing process can't belong to this either Atma or the mind. Why? Now that is a question. Why? Well, basically, it's a little technical thing, but you can understand very well. We have gone through so many technical things, so this is not a big thing at all. So, see, processing, basically, any process means a change or modification. Anywhere the word process is used, we'll have to immediately think it's a modification. Like processing of food, right? Food processing means what? Basically, they are bringing certain change in that food so that it can sustain for a long time. So, well, definitely. So, food processing, that shows that a certain modification has been carried out in the food. So, processing basically involves a change or a modification. And so, here also this is a processing. Knowing process takes place, right? That transaction. That's a knowing process. Now, a knowing process takes place, then whatever are involved definitely must be undergoing a change. And therefore, first let us take Atma. Suppose Atma does a transaction. Then in the process of knowing, Atma undergoes a modification, Vikara. And that cannot be, because Atma is basically Nirvikaraha. Atma is free from the modification. Why Atma is free from modification? Well, Atma does not possess any avayava at all, does not possess any limbs. And any change occurs always in the limbs, right? Like this body, continuously changing. Means what? All the limbs are changing. Like all the limbs are undergoing certain modification. And therefore, definitely Atma, when we are saying Atma is free from modification, because Atma does not possess any limbs. Whatever possesses limbs basically undergoes modification. Avayava undergoes a modification, limbs undergo a modification, and Atma being Nirvikara. How can you say but Atma does not possess any limbs? Because Atma is limitless, I is limitless. A limitless thing cannot possess any avayava, any limbs. Whatever limbs are there, a object with limbs, basically definitely a limited entity. Always. And therefore, it may be a pot, or it may be a earth, or it may be a ocean. Whatever it is, a small, big, anything, they all possess limbs. Which is limitless cannot have any limbs. And therefore, definitely, so Atma does not have any limbs, and therefore it does not undergo any modification, and therefore it cannot be associated with the knowing process. The process involves a modification. That's what we say. Okay, knowing the process cannot be associated to the mind also, because mind is basically jadam, right? It's inert entity. And if you scientifically say, they call it brain, they don't accept mind separate from the brain. Brain itself is mind for the people, for scientists, etc. So, brain is a matter, and matter cannot know anything. That much we know. That is one of the characteristics we have seen while defining what is matter, what is inert, and what is conscious entity. And therefore, so that is why we say mind also cannot know anything. It cannot be involved in a process of knowing independently, because it is a matter. Atma cannot do any kind of cannot be involved in any, cannot be associated with the process of knowing. And so ultimately, we'll have to assume that there is a third entity. It is a third mysterious entity, really. It's a very mysterious entity. That third entity, what is the status of the third entity, you cannot decide at all. Even if several days go, but you cannot decide. What is the Chidabhasa? Really, it is a mysterious entity. Like our salad. What is salad is a very difficult thing to know. Really. You may call salad means a vegetable. Then why are you calling word salad? Why? What I mean, using this word salad. You may be selling salad or whatever, salad or whatever, that's okay. But this is my Indian way of saying. Anyway, so this is, see, if you say salad means what? Ultimately cut vegetables. So it is vegetables only. Why are you using word salad? I don't know, Samaj, but I am using it. But there are other things, Sometimes they grate the cheese, etc., and they spread it. And sometimes vinegar also is there. Samaji, how do you know? I don't know. I just say like that. You accept it or not, that's a different matter. But so sometimes vinegar may be there, or sometimes some sauce may be there. Something may be there. Now tell me, what is salad? If you say just vegetables, then I will object immediately. Then tell vegetables. If salad is vegetables, why are you using another word and create a confusion? So use vegetables. So no. Samaji, there is a grated cheese in that. Okay, then call that as a cheese. No, we cannot call it as a cheese also. We cannot call it as a sauce. We cannot call it as a vinegar. Then what it is? What it is? Really, it's a mysterious entity. These salads, in Ahmedabad also there are restaurants. Believe me. There are restaurants specially for salads. Don't think you're America. You're America. In Ahmedabad itself, there is a special restaurant for salads. People go there for eating salads. Really. Anyway, this is just by the way. It's a mysterious entity. Same way this Chidabhasa is a mysterious entity. There are two things in the creation. There are two things. And one is Atma and one other is Anatma. Anatma means which is inert. Atma means a consciousness which is free from any modification. What is Chidabhasa? Please tell me. It's a conscious entity. No, Swamiji, well, Chidabhasa is a conscious entity. Okay. Then our definition of a consciousness is free from modification. But Chidabhasa modifies. And not only that, consciousness is Satyam, Nityam, timeless, all the time existent. Then Chidabhasa appears in waking state and goes away in deep sleep. Right? And therefore Chidabhasa, as though I am going to talk about, don't worry, Chidabhasa is a very mysterious entity. It has a certain property of the inert entity and it has a certain property of the conscious entity. What are they? I am going to talk about it, don't worry. But I basically want to convey it's a mysterious. Why do you use mysterious? It's a mithya thing. Really not there. Really. It is just a word. Believe me. Like salad is just a word. Believe me. It's just a word. It's just a word we have formed. Otherwise, there is nothing called salad. And Puja Swamiji says there is nothing called pot. You say clay. There is nothing called clay also. Yeah, but let's not. What I am saying is, that is Chandogya Upanishad says, Vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam. Entire creation has no reality other than the words centered on the tongue. There is a pot centered on the tongue. There is a name called pot which comes out of the mouth. But there is no object called pot in the creation. There is no object. There is no clay. There are no atoms. There are no molecules. Then what is there? What is there? That's what we say. There's Asti Bhati. Other than Asti Bhati, there is nothing. Other than Brahman, there is nothing. So every other thing, definitely on inquiry is not sustained. Pot cannot sustain the inquiry. So it tells, well, I'm not there. There is a clay. So okay, let us inquire into clay. And then you inquire into clay, you find something else. You inquire into that, you find something else. But that Asti Bhati, easiness and that which illumines, that does not go away. So ultimately, whole thing resolves into Asti Bhati, nothing else. That's the reality. Now it sustains the inquiry. It has sustained inquiry from the beginning. When the pot was there, that time also Asti Bhati was there. Pot is, pot shines, etc. And it sustained inquiry throughout and ultimately whole thing resolved into Asti Bhati. It was there to begin with. It is there at the end also. And whole pot is consumed by it, basically. That is what the reality is. So word pot is there. But there is no meaning called pot. The meaning is only Asti Bhati. That's that's how it is. But anyway, now let's come to this Chidabhasa, mysterious entity. Well, there is a word called Chidabhasa or a Jivaha, etc. That's how we call Jiva as a Mithya, etc. Anyway, so Atmanaha Vikriya Nasti, Shankaracharya ji says, I have, what can I do? I have to assume this, a Chidabhasa. So Atma has, because Atma does not undergo any modification, and this is a process of knowing, well, definitely it involves modification. Atma cannot be modified. Atma does not undergo modification, and therefore, well, I have to leave aside Atma. Then second thing, Buddhehe Jatu Bodhaha Nasti. Buddhehe Jatu. The mind also has a no iota of a sentiency. It is made up of subtle matter, basically. And therefore, well, definitely knowing process should be associated with something conscious entity. And therefore, well, definitely, mind also I cannot associate the knowing process with the mind as such. And so, well, now, so because of the proximity of the mind and this Atma, the consciousness that is I, well, we have to assume a third entity called reflected consciousness. Abba. And that is how we assume this reflected consciousness called Jiva, etc. And and that is how the process of knowing takes place, involving the Jiva. So Shankaracharya ji says, well, Jivaha sarvam alam gnatva. Now he is using the word Jiva. That's Chidabhasa. So no over, etc. Sarvam alam gnatva. Sarvam alam. As such, alam word means enough. And that we use it also when people are taking food, and they have taken sufficient, well, and full. And still they, in our India there is a tradition. They again come with all sweets and everything. And that fellow says, alam, enough, I don't want, So alam means here in terms of a negation. So Jiva has sarvam alam gnatva. Jiva does not know all the details of what? Details of a knowing process. That, well, all this takes place, well, because, due to Chidabhasa. And, well, I am not a Chidabhasa, I am a consciousness. Due to ignorance, I take myself as a Jnata or a Jivaha. And, other things as a known, etc. And I consider myself as a Vikari, modified, and therefore basically all this Jnatrutvam, Kartrutvam, Bhoktrutvam I superimpose upon myself, that is consciousness, that is my real nature, and I behave as a Jnata, etc. They are like black dots, sometimes what happens when a face and mirror comes in proximity, immediately reflection forms. That's okay. But suppose that on your mirror, suppose there is a black dot, and when you see your face, you find black dot in the face here, and then what you do is you feel that there is a black dot on the face, not on the reflection, and so you try to scratch it, but actually there is nothing here. That black dot is there in the mirror, but you take it on yourself. Same thing. I am pure consciousness, right? Limitless pure consciousness. There is a one black dot called knowerness. I superimpose myself upon myself. Then I superimpose, I am a karta. I superimpose this on myself, that bhokta, etc. All these are black dots. They are all there in a reflection, but basically it is not in me. So I am basically Nitya Shuddha Chaitanya, free from any kind of modification, free from all kinds of impurities, and these are all, instead, not knowing all this, alam gnatva, not knowing all this, completely muhyati, I get deluded, under the spell of ignorance, get deluded, take myself as a knower, and get affected with varieties of the samsara. So, definitely varieties of the notions, and each notion about myself, gives me a suffering. So, and what kind of a superimposition you do? So, Jnata, Drashta, iti muhyati. Jnata, I take myself as a knower, I take myself as a seer, etc., etc. I take myself as a smeller, toucher, etc. All we can take it. Now, verse 27. Rajju sarpavadatmanam Jivam jnatva bhayam vahet. Naham jivah paratmeti Jnataschin nirbhayo bhavet. So all transactions and consequence of consequent that samsara etc. belong to the reflection. Well, so if this knowledge is there, then transaction won't create a problem. Like if you are seeing your face in the mirror and you find it is so dull, and all these dots etc. you find, but if you know that it is in the reflection, and that also has been formed due to the mirror as such, due to the medium, reflecting medium it has formed, and it is in the basically in my reflection, not on me, then you will not bother about it. And so but if you don't have a knowledge, well, then you take all this, whatever the attributes are there seen in the reflection, you take it on yourself and then undergo suffering. So if this knowledge is there that I am not the reflection but I am the consciousness in presence of which all transaction takes place, and whatever are there, they basically, I pervade everything. I pervade the jnata, I pervade the object of knowledge, I pervade the very thought, because I am all pervading, and therefore I pervade everything. And how, in which way, Swamiji, I pervade jnata, gneyam and jnanam? The way water pervades the wave. That way I pervade everything, basically, and therefore water pervades the wave. So, there is nothing called wave, ultimately. Whatever is there is water only. Or in a wave, everything is ultimately a water. So that is how I pervade. That is how all pervasiveness is possible because of that. So all pervasiveness means what? There is nothing other than that. And so then what about this jnata, gneyam? Well, they are all superimposed. That's what I am saying you. Due to Maya, they are all superimposed upon the self which is pervading everything, which is all pervasive. So anyway, once you know that the transaction involves all mithya things, transaction itself is a mithya, I basically don't transact anything. Either it is a activity or, either it is an action or either it is a process of knowing, etc. Well, I don't transact anything. So after gaining this knowledge, of course, even for the sake of worldly transaction, I take myself as a doer. Knowingly I take myself as a doer. Or knowingly I take myself as a knower. Knowingly I take myself as an experiencer, bhokta, etc. And so I take myself as a seer, hearer, etc. Well, and it can be taken that way, and there is nothing wrong in that also, because ultimately, whenever, the prarabdha is there, then definitely all this transaction has to be there. Different type of experiences are there, etc. And therefore, such transaction will be there, but you don't take yourself in reality as a seer, hearer, or etc. etc. So with this knowledge, you can tell that I am a seer right now, and you are seeing me, or I am seeing you. I can tell very well, even though really I am not a seer, I can tell that way. So for transaction purpose, I can act as a jnata, etc. And this is in a common part. There are examples for that. Suppose I will show you a group photo. Perhaps I may have given you this example. A group photo of for school days. And we had gone to certain trip, and there was one lake, and everybody sat in a boat. So all class students cannot be accommodated in one boat. So there was another boat also, and two boats were going in that lake. And from the other boat, that our class teacher took a photo of this boat. The students of this boat, and then he distributed ultimately after developing, etc. And I kept it for several years. And one day, after 20-25 years, somebody came of the school days, my friend of the school days, he came, and I showed that photo. I asked him, well, where am I in this? Where am I in this? And he was looking. It's very difficult because school days photos, so much of change. But basically he could find out, and he said, you are here. Is this a right statement? Please tell me. So am I in the paper, a small paper 3 inches by 3 inches, or I am outside the paper sitting beside him? Please tell me. Am I a person sitting beside him in the sofa, or am I there in that 3 by 3 paper? What is there in the 3 by 3 paper is my reflection, right? It's a photo, is my reflection. But still, when I say where am I in the picture, he should immediately object and say, how can you be in the picture? You are sitting beside me in the sofa. You cannot be there in the picture. But he also accepts it. And he says, you are here. Means what? The reflection has been taken as a self, right? The very reflection has been taken as a self. Same way, the seer, hearer, etc., smeller, a doer, experiencer, all are reflected consciousness, right? Still, well, the jnani can definitely say, taking that reflection as a self, and he says, I am a seer right now, I am a eater right now, I am a walker right now, I am a talker right now. He can say that. There is nothing wrong in that. The way we say for the other, in other examples. So similarly, jnani also can make this kind of a verbal transaction. Don't think that he is deluded. Swamiji, he is telling himself as a seer, and therefore basically he takes Chidavasa as himself. Well, don't say that way. It can be taken that way. And so after knowing that I am the limitless consciousness, which is just a witness of all the three, basically witness of the jnata, witness of the jnanam, and witness of the thought, witness of the very knower, and witness of the very known, but still I can tell that way that I am the knower or seer, hearer, etc. Anyway, without knowledge, reflection, if that knowledge is not there, that you are witness of even the knower, etc., then you will take the knower as the reality, definitely then. And then you take a knower as a reality, then tragedy will start. Because you are a seer, and seer of something, which you don't want to see. But what can you do? In the process of knowledge, you don't have any choice. Knowledge means what? Basically, it is always depending upon the object. It does not depend upon the person. It is Vastu Tantram. Vastu Tantram is it depends upon the knowledge of anything, depends upon the object itself. Knowledge of a given object in which my free will does not come into the being. Does not come into the picture at all. So I see this as a mobile. I don't have any choice. Well, I want to see it as a very good mango. Well, you can't see it. You may think whatever, that is maybe in your dream. But you have, whatever the object is there, it reveals itself and you have to know it as it is. That's what the knowledge is. If you say, no, it is something else, then it is not knowledge. It is Brahma, not Prama, but it is Brahma. And therefore, that is delusion. And so, basically, as a seer, hearer, etc., you are seeing something which you don't want to see. You are hearing something which you are hearing your own criticism which you don't want to hear. But what can you do? You pass by that particular place and the two people were talking about you and you don't want, but still the words has come to you and you have heard it. And so as a Shrota you became very, very, you undergo suffering now. As a seer you undergo suffering. As a smeller you undergo suffering. Having a fish smell, etc., and passing by from the market, and you don't want that smell. But what can you do? You want to reach to the station, and there is only one way passing through that market, and that market is a fish market, and you can't help. So basically, as a smeller, you undergo a suffering, basically. Same way, for tasting also, certain time you taste something, and you have to tell also, Swamiji, how was that dish? Oh, it is wonderful. It is wonderful, but you basically, perhaps you may not like it, but you don't have any choice. Understand that the samsara is involved for the jnata. I will tell you something else also. Like you tell your child, that, if you don't study properly, then definitely you will not get a good job. You will not get a good job, then you will not get a good girl or good boy. So marriage also will not be good, and your whole life will be pathetic. To whom you are telling? Please tell me. You are telling to your child, but child as a knower, study, etc. And therefore, definitely once you say I am a knower, the samsara is all that, it's woven in that. And as a knower, one more thing also. I am knower, but I am a limited knower, definitely. I am very, very limited in knowledge, which I cannot stand, which I just can't stand. It may be a Vedanta or it may be something else. I feel that I know everything, and I want to prove that also, and I miserably fail also. When I find in the people in the given area, in this area itself, you find there are several teachers who know a lot of things, and then when I come to know, I'm talking about myself. Well, I come to know, I feel, oh, I know so less. Even though I'm teaching, I know so less, and that brings a suffering. So once you take yourself as a Jnata, definitely it is a limited entity and you will undergo suffering. Once any limitation is centered on the self, suffering is unavoidable. That's what it is. Basically, you are not limited. Otherwise, you will be happy having limitation. You are happy having limitation, but you are not happy with the limitation centered on the self. That shows that is not your nature. That's how Pujya Swamiji used to call, very beautifully, that if sorrow is my nature, then I will be happy being a sorrowful. But that is not the thing. And therefore, definitely, Jnata, which is just a reflection. We are doing all this process basically to make us, to know that, well, the consciousness is my real nature, and which never does any kind of a transaction. The transaction takes place, of course. Transaction takes place at a different level, at a Chidabhasa level, which is a fake I, which is Abhasa, which is a fake I, which is a reflection. And reflected sun is a fake sun. Basically, original sun is a real sun. Anyway, that is how we have to understand. So, Atmanam Jivam Jnatva, knowing this Atma as a Jiva or as a knower, etc. Well, Bhayam Vahet. I have told you just regarding Jnata. If you take yourself as a Karta, that's also this Chidabhasa. Swamiji, but what is the difference between Jnata and Karta here? Difference is this, that ultimately Atma, limitless consciousness and the one mind gets combined together, the Chidabhasa is formed. And once the Chidabhasa is formed, that Chidabhasa basically identify with the senses. Chidabhasa identify with the organ of action. Chidabhasa identify with the prana. Chidabhasa identify with everything in the subtle body. And when the Chidabhasa identify with the organ of action, it says, I am doing. So Chidabhasa identified with the legs. And when legs starts moving, I say, I am moving. So I take myself as a Karta, a agent of a moving action. The hands pick up something, and Chidabhasa is identified with the hands, says that I am picking up something. So etc. So basically, Chidabhasa takes himself as a Karta, identifying with the organ of action. And so that is how basically same Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa either will be a knower in terms of a seer, hearer, identifying with the senses, or identifying with the organ of action, takes himself as a Karta. And identifies with the again senses and becomes Bhokta also. And that difference you have to tell me tomorrow between Jnata and Bhokta. I remember. And so I will tell you tomorrow, but you first I will expect an answer from you. Anyway, so a Karta, Bhokta or a Jnata, basically this Bhayam, you cannot be free from this, this insecurity. This insecurity will be all the time there. And therefore, by insecurity or Bhayam, you have to understand the entire samsara. That's just Upalakshana. So, Naham Jivaha, basically, I am not this Jiva, I am not this temporary Chidabhasa, I am not this limited entity, I am not this reflected consciousness. Paratma iti, Naham Jivaha, you can see in the second line it is told, Naham Jivaha, I am not this Jiva, Paratma iti, I am the Paramatma, I am the Brahman. Jnataschet, and if you know like this, Nirbhayo Bhavet, you will become free from the samsara, because you don't take yourself as a limited entity. If you don't take yourself as a limited entity, you are ready to drop any notion centered on the self, which is showing this limitation. If you are ready to drop it, you will have a joy forever. That is nothing else. That joy is not there because ultimately our own notions about ourselves haunt us all the time. all the time, either as a jnata, either as a karta. Karta also has a lot of omission and commission. Bhokta has a lot of omission and commission. Swamiji, I should not have done that thing. I should not have spoken that. I don't know why I spoke. And if she felt so bad about it, and then goes on and on. Or why I should have done that, Swamiji, but I did not do. I don't know why I did not do. So omission and commission, and that also haunt us very well. And bhokta also as an experience. I should not have undergone this kind of experience. I should not have enjoyed that, or I should not have undergone that kind of experience, etc., etc. Or I should have undergone that kind of experience, whatever. So ultimately, bhokta also suffers, karta also suffers, well, and jnata also suffers. But I don't suffer. Well, because I don't take myself as a jnata, karta, or bhokta. It is all reflection. Whose reflection? My reflection. Where? In the mind and in the subtle body, and take myself in the gross body as myself as a karta, bhokta, or jnata. Well, but basically, any reflection is a fake entity, is a mithya entity, and I should not claim it. Well, the Chidabhasa itself is possible because I am there. Reflection cannot be there unless there is original, and therefore I am basically a limitless consciousness, well, which in proximity with the body mind sense complex, they are in proximity and they form it. Now, this Chidabhasa, as I told you, it's a very, very mysterious entity, and I told you, I will tell you, you should understand how many things are involved in that from both the sides, from Atma and Anatma. So when you do this analysis of this jiva, basically, see, we have done what? Basically, I am not jiva, right? I am not jnata, I am not karta, I am not bhokta. If you want to understand from the standpoint of a Mahavakya, then basically, well, I am equated with Paratma, Paramatma. When I give up this Tvam-pada Vachyartha, whether I am a jiva, I am a jnata, I am a knower, I am a karta, I am a bhokta, all this Tvam-pada Vachyartha. Basically, it's a direct meaning of the Tvam-pada or Aham-pada, whatever. Well, the word I has a direct meaning is this: knower, doer, enjoyer or experiencer, etc. But when you give it up, that they are all just, they are a mithya entity, and I am the one because of whom they all are possible. And then, well, if you take this Aham-pada Lakshyartha, basically, when you take an implied meaning, then you can equate with the Paratma, Paramatma, etc. That's what it is told here. Naham jivaha Paratma iti. That shows a Mahavakya. I am equated with myself with the Paramatma. Anyway, so here he talks about this Chidabhasa or Ahankara, etc., or a jiva, which is formed by the combination of Atma and Anatma, basically. So just as I will talk about first reflection, then you will find, then we will go to this Atma Anatma. See, just as this reflection is formed, right? And when I and the mirror are in proximity, and the third entity called reflection will be formed in the mirror. Basically, there are two things. Myself is there and mirror is there. Two things are there. But when we are in proximity, a third entity arises. That is reflection of me or my face, whatever. And now that reflection, let us analyze that reflection. Forget about Atma, Anatma, Chidabhasa, etc. right now. Let us analyze this reflection. How many attributes belong to the me and how many attributes belong to the mirror? Then you can find when you give away these attributes, what belongs to what, then nothing remains, basically. So it's a mixture, basically, the reflected face. Let's say first thing is what? Location of the reflection. Location of reflection is not dependent upon object, but it is dependent upon the mirror, right? Dependent upon the mirror. The motion of reflection, well, is not dependent upon the object, but dependent upon the mirror. As the mirror moves, as if the reflection also moves. The dullness or the very bright of the brightness of the reflection is not dependent upon me, the original, but it depends upon the mirror, right? So these three things we can see. So just as a reflection has a certain attributes of a mirror, what attributes? Location, then dullness or brightness, and the motion. All this is basically due to mirror. What? Reflection has those attributes from the mirror. Same way, certain things from the face also, the reflection has. Suppose myself is there, then the reflection will be male. Suppose a woman is there, then the reflection will be of a woman. So basically, the reflection also has a characteristic from the certain characteristic from the original also. And so basically reflection is a hybrid of two things. Certain attributes from the mirror, certain attributes from the person basically. That reflection is a spectacles, then definitely not that attribute does not belong to the mirror. It belongs to the original face, right? Because I am wearing the specs. The face has original face has a specs. Then the reflection also has a specs. So certain attributes from the mirror, certain attributes from the myself, and that is how a reflection is formed. It's an hybrid. Now give away the motion to the mirror. You find the motion in the reflection, right? Reflected face. If you find that it is moving, reflected face is moving, that's due to mirror. So give that attribute to the mirror. Then dullness etc. or brightness of the face etc. Well, that also belongs to mirror. That also you give it to the mirror. And then the third thing, well, I said the location etc. Now where the reflection will be formed, where there is a mirror located, right? If mirror is located above, the reflection will be formed there, not on the front. Suppose sometime a mirror is not in the front, it's on the side, then the reflection is formed there. So that's what location means this way, understand that way. So the location also belongs to the mirror. Give the reflection has a location, that attribute belongs to ultimately the mirror. Give away that also. Now reflection has a maleness, male reflection. Well, give it to the me. And then reflection, of course, has, as I told you, specs etc. That also is because of the original face. That you give it to me. Now you give away like these attributes, and to anatma or anatma, the mirror or a basically face. Then you find that nothing remains for the reflection. Reflection becomes zero. That is what we say. A reflection is a very mysterious entity. It appears very, very real, but actually it's a hybrid entity of the face and the mirror. Now drop the example. Come to our Chidabhasa. That is also reflection, right? Same way Chidabhasa is formed, which has got a partial features of Atma and partial features of Anatma. Some of them I will tell you. Travel of Chidabhasa is borrowed from the mind, Anatma. Travel. Mind travels, I have told you. Mind travels. Basically, Chidabhasa does not travel. But the motion of the mind is superimposed upon the motion of Chidabhasa. Basically, you say the Jiva moves from one place to other place. Basically, Jiva cannot move. Jiva is a reflection. Basically, mind moves. Like the motion of the earth is superimposed upon the sun. Right? Motion of the earth is superimposed upon the sun. And you find basically the earth is stationary and sun is moving from east to west. Actually, earth is moving from west to east. That is the reality. And so this is how it is. Motion of one is superimposed upon the other. Like in India, we always say the two trains are there standing in the station, and one moves. And suppose it the next, the train which is on the other track, it is moving. I feel that my train is moving. This is how it is. So anyway, same way here, mind and basically Chidabhasa, in that mind moves, Chidabhasa does not move. So basically, mind, that is Anatma. Attribute of the Anatma called motion is superimposed upon Chidabhasa or Jiva, and we say Jiva goes from one loka to other loka. We say like that. That's one thing. Okay, second thing, quality of Chidabhasa. Yeah, also depends upon mind. Swamiji, if everything is Atma, this is the question. If everything is Atma, why they all are different? One is a tamasika person, and one is a sattvic person, one is a rajasic person. Why like that? and somebody has a good attributes and somebody has those attributes and these attributes. So basically you find like all the jivas have a different types of attributes. That's how we say, and that's how one jiva goes to Urdhvaloka and other jiva goes to Adholoka and etc. So jivas, you find so much of difference, so much of difference. No two people are alike. No two people are alike. I am not talking about physical body, in terms of mind, etc. So because basically minds are different, and therefore the reflection which is formed in that mind also appears different. As remember my example of the mirror. If mirror is dull, even though I have done a facial etc., still I may appear there as a very dull person, right? And therefore basically the jivas, you find a difference in the jiva etc. Quality of a jiva etc. Quality of a Chidabhasa is dependent upon the mind, subtle body. Okay. And other way also, if you don't want to take it, other way also we can take. Take all the living beings. You find Chidabhasa manifest in the trees etc. Very, very, very rudimentary. So and in the human being, it is the Chidabhasa is very bright. In as much as the human being is totally self-conscious, and therefore those kind of differences in the living beings you find from the tree to the human being, all in between all come. Well, all that it is due to mind. Basically, human being's mind is such where the reflection of the Atma or the manifestation, Pujya Swamiji says like that, manifestation of the self is total, and therefore basically I am a totally 100% self-conscious. Basically that is not due to any other thing, but it is due to the human mind. So wherever the human mind is there, you will find that they are all totally self-conscious. And in other jivas, of course, well, the subtle body, the minds are different, and therefore even though the reflection will be there of the same Chaitanyam, but would be different. So anyway, the Chidabhasa is bright, let's call here. In a human mind it is bright, and in the trees etc. it is very dull. So that Chidabhasa is dull or bright depends upon what? The mind, the subtle body, in the varieties of the organisms. So certain qualities, so that is how location of a Chidabhasa, quality of a Chidabhasa etc. The travel of a Chidabhasa etc. all is borrowed from mind, Anatma. And now something from Atma also is borrowed, right? It is exactly like a mirror and myself. Something borrowed from me and something borrowed from the mirror, and that is how the reflection is formed. Same way here. Here a mirror is our mind. So basically certain attributes of the mind are taken to form a Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness, and certain attributes of the consciousness, Atma, also has been taken. What is that? Consciousness. Chidabhasa appears conscious entity, Jiva is a conscious entity, and therefore that consciousness is borrowed from Atma, and that's how Chidabhasa appears conscious also. So definitely I will not talk about existence right now, because that's a little ambiguity is there. Because if suppose suppose if I destroy the mirror, then there will not be reflection. So we say existence of the reflection is depend upon the mirror. So if the mind resolves, where is the reflection? Where is the knowerness? Where is knowerness? There is no knowerness in deep sleep state. When the mind resolves, the very I thought resolves, Ahankara resolves, Jiva resolves. And so basically there is no knowerness also, and therefore let's not talk about existence, but consciousness we can definitely talk about. Consciousness, ultimately we can extend it there also for existence, but we don't want right now. Let's say the Chidabhasa is a conscious entity, Jiva is a conscious entity, because the consciousness is borrowed from the Atma. And Jiva, of course, Jiva is, moving or jiva has a location, jiva has a certain quality, a human jiva or another jiva, etc., etc. All or jiva travel, etc. All this is because of the mind, anatma. So certain things from the atma, certain things from the anatma are borrowed, and a third entity is born called Chidabhasa. It's really a very mysterious thing. More and more you go into that, you find that you have to allot this particular attribute to the either Atma or either to the mind. Ultimately, Chidabhasa has nothing of its own, and therefore, but still that Chidabhasa or the Jiva appears so solid and real, and everything as though is centered on that Jiva. Everything ultimately is centered on that. And when so I claim, let's say Chidabhasa is taken as a Karta Bhokta. That Kartrutvam is in the mind. I have already explained you, if you remember that. Kartrutvam belongs to mind. Bhoktrutvam belongs to the mind, right? Jnatrutvam belongs to the mind, ultimately. But then it has been taken, Chidabhasa has been taken as a Karta Bhokta, etc. And even if it is taken as a Karta Bhokta, no problem. But we have to understand that it has been taken from the mind. And so, and then Punya Papa, etc. also belongs to the causal body, etc. Sanchita also, and that also will be taken by the Chidabhasa, etc. So ultimately, my point is, whatever Chidabhasa or Jiva has, either other than the consciousness, most of the things are borrowed from the subtle body, mind, etc. only. Anyway, so that false entity, well, Chidabhasa, which is false entity, well, it appears as a real I. When I say, well, I am a conscious being, and take that reflection as a myself. So when I say I am a conscious being, I have borrowed consciousness from the Atma. When I say I am a mortal being, well, I have borrowed the mortality from the mind, body, etc. Definitely. But Swamiji, you are telling mind, now you are including physical body also, because I have already told you, the sense, I sense does not confine to just subtle body. That I sense confined even to the physical body, because subtle body pervades this gross body. And so I sense pervades in the subtle body, pervades also in the gross body. And therefore, whenever you say, I am coming, when definitely you are not saying my mind is coming, etc. You know that along with this physical body, I am coming. So that is what your I sense is up to this dermis. And therefore, definitely, so all the attributes of the either physical body or a subtle body, all are superimposed, or that is of the anatma, are superimposed upon Chidabhasa. And consciousness, well, which is the, the nature of the atma. So consciousness is borrowed by Chidabhasa, and he's now that Chidabhasa says, I am a conscious entity, etc. So, and then he says, well, I am subject to prarabdha, etc., all that, and then definitely he takes himself as a karta, etc., and then he says all these karmas belong to me, etc. Anyway, Shankaracharya ji says this, disclaim this ahankara basically, and claim atma. Disclaim, because this is a reflection. Don't take reflected face as yourself. That's a very, very problematic thing. Nobody takes, that's a good thing. But if somebody takes, we always teach them, don't take reflected face as your face. Well, you are very bright. Your face is really very bright. Don't take yourself as a very dull, where that is just a reflection, etc. So anyway, so it is like, don't claim reflected face as yourself. Well, when mirror goes, you will disappear, right? When mirror is not there, then the reflected face disappears. So don't claim it. You are still there, self-existent, and therefore don't worry at all. So you claim original face as yourself. Well, only thing is, original face you can't see. That's for sure. And at the same time, you won't question the existence of the original face also. Well, if mirror is there and you see reflection, at that time also you know that you, the original face, are there. And if suppose mirror gets destroyed, still you know that you are not destroyed. You are independent of the reflection, you are independent of the mirror, and you still exist. So definitely, only thing is, you are not able to see your face now. That's correct. You are not able to see your face. but you never question your existence. That's what my point is. Please understand that. People who want to experience Atma, for them now the verses are coming. Or most of the people want to experience Atma. Well, and so therefore them, Shankaracharya ji has formed certain verses now. So, well, that is not required at all. You need not, if you want to experience all yourself, then definitely Atma has to be object of experience. Well, we'll talk about it later. So, even if you won't see your face, but you won't question the existence of your face. That's what I want to convey. Even if you don't see your face, you won't, please underline this, even if you won't see your face, still you will never question the existence of your face. Whether, because I am not able to see my face, therefore I am not there. Don't say that. So, well, I am not able to see Swamiji Atma in the meditation, therefore I am not there. I am not consciousness. To say I am not consciousness, you have to be a conscious entity. Anyway, so you can never negate yourself. Well, anyway, Atma is one who objectifies with everything, and therefore it is never objectified. So when mind is there, I get reflected. When mind is dissolved, that very I sense is dissolved. Knowness is dissolved, etc. Ahankara dissolves. End of transaction is not an end of myself. End of transaction is not an end of myself. Whether it is a deep sleep state, or whether it is a death, or whether it is a pralaya. Whether it is a pralaya, all the three states has a one thing common. You will not be available for transaction. Either nobody can transact with you, either you cannot transact with the world. Either in a deep sleep, either in a death, either in a pralaya, resolution. You will not be transacting with the world. Nobody transact with you. And therefore, I am not there. Don't say that. Well, that's what we want to convey. This is called Atma Jnanam. And so once you know this, definitely Nirbhayo Bhavet, where is the question of insecurity? So as Chidabhasa, there was no freedom, and that is how I considered myself as a Chidabhasa, as a Jnata, Karta, Bhokta. I was improving. As Pujya Swamiji calls it, as I was in the process of becoming and constantly improving upon myself, ultimately in search of this Atma which is free from all limitations or defect. Well, there is no question of moksha or freedom as Chidabhasa. If you take yourself as a Chit and Sat, well, ultimately you are free. You need not do anything. You need not become anything. Physical body, mind, senses and the reflection will continue to form. Well, if you don't claim yourself as that I am not Chidabhasa, well, it doesn't mean that the reflection will not be formed. If you say, well, I am not the reflected face, you negate it. I am the original face. It does not mean reflection will not form. Reflection will be formed. Whenever you go near to the mirror, it will be formed. But in your understanding, you are not reflected face. That's all it is. So the reflection continue to form. That's how this Jnani Purusha as a Jiva, as a reflected consciousness, continue to be there. So far the medium, body, mind, sense complex, the mirror is there. Till then the reflection continue to form. But he won't claim that I am Jiva. He says, I am Chit, the consciousness, limitless consciousness. I am Brahman. I am free. That's how it is. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.